But Amy, you mentioned something that I would like to go back to. You talked about mathematical mind, which is something very important, I think, about Montessori. Mathematical mind is somehow to the core of everything that we do. We have never discussed this on our podcast, and it's great that you brought this up, because what Montessori is often misunderstood is that it really puts a lot of pressure on the kids to learn things that are scholarly, like things that are, if the children are doing, for example, decimal system and they are adding 4-digit numbers, that this is way too much for them at this very young age. Because a child, all they should be doing up until grade 1 is play outside. And while this is an important thing, and we've discussed this in our podcast quite a bit, I would like to focus on the mathematical mind and what it truly is, and how practical life, for example, prepares children and gives them this chance to develop the mathematical mind, and how sensorial is also helping with that in math. What is your perspective on this?
Gosh. Well, I think, to simplify it, right? The mathematical mind is an understanding of order, right? And so you have to, sequencing and executive function that you talked about. The thing about mathematical, what we're doing is, okay, if you need a glass of milk, do you get the milk first? You need the glass in order to pour the milk into the glass. And so something as simple as what comes first is building the mathematical mind. So I think at home, you can help support that development by, even just asking what's next, right? In any sequence, it doesn't have to be like math focused, right? But just sequence. What happens first? What happens next? And so supporting your child at home in that way, obviously counting things is helping to develop that mathematical mind. And also just if you understand the importance of respecting the ability to focus and concentrate, because it's really hard to learn if you're being interrupted, or if somebody's talking to you while you're, trying to do something. In our training, as you know, we've been taught that when we're presenting something, we're showing something new to our children, we're never talking to them at the same time as we're moving, because a child needs to be able to focus on one thing at a time. And so by slowing down and really isolating what it is that we're doing, if we want them to hear us, we want to not move and, wait for their eyes to come to you. That's so subtle, but it's so powerful and so meaningful in their development. And so I guess that's a long way to talk about mathematical mind, but it's that sense of sequencing and organization. Obviously, with the materials, the sensorial materials, everything's based on 10. There's 10 cubes to the pink tower. Everything is interrelated. And that's like the magic of Montessori. It's, we get really excited about when they've made the discovery that the smallest cube of the pink tower is like the smallest square in the decanomials, or I don't know what you all call it, the decanomial
yes, we call
square.
It the decanomial. The Pythagorean,
just,
yes.
When they start to make those, that's like when, as a teacher, you get to see, it's all working. Is they're making the connections, the abstract connections. That's why they work with the concrete materials to begin with, because they're feeling the weight of the largest cube of the pink tower versus the smallest cube. So they're building that mathematical mind by just also weight, but also the language of smallest and largest. All of it is interrelated.
And everything is helping them build the mathematical mind. Another aspect of the mathematical mind that I feel that is incomplete unless there's the art curriculum, which is very important about developing the mathematical mind. You have been invaluable in helping this school develop the art curriculum. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and how that art curriculum actually helps, and it's an overarching sort of it's kind of sits on top of everything else when they are doing the art curriculum and the way we do our curriculum in school. And it's not, taking just some crayons and coloring inside the lines. None of that. It's actually much more complex. And how is that kind of sitting on top of everything else and helps everything else come together?
Yeah. So I have a wonderful two wonderful Montessorians back in the United States to thank for that art curriculum, Carol Alver and Michelle Aspinall. And that art curriculum supports what we do in a number of ways. One, you're introducing the children to all these different ways to make art, whether it's through chalk or pastels or watercolors. And I think it's hard. We think, oh, just give your children a coloring book, right? You give them, oh, they love, Frozen. Let's go get them a Frozen coloring book. I mean, we all have them at home, right? I mean, it's
we're all guilty.
I'm not saying that, but what if we just gave them a blank page and helped them think of what is it that you love about Frozen, right? What is it that you imagine in your mind when you're thinking about the characters of Frozen, and what colors do you see? And so you're channeling the thing that they know and love, right? Whatever commercial thing that might be, or maybe it's the beautiful plant that's behind you and they're illustrating that. But it's how do we give these children the openness and the freedom to express themselves and to create rather than to fit into the box that we've pre-designed and created? Because it's often, I think about Olivia and her love of mermaids and the countless hundreds of pages of mermaids that have evolved since she started drawing them. And it's the same in the classroom, right? You have, I want to illustrate, about sloths, right? And I want to write a story with the movable alphabet. An extension to that and to connect art to the language that they've just done is, well, what do you want to, let's illustrate the sloth that you're writing about, or let's make a booklet about all the different wildflowers, and it's using art because children love, we all love art.
Yes, even the adults.
Even the adults.
Everybody loves art.
Yeah, and
for sure.
It's using, the other part of their brain and connecting it and integrating it and seeing the value of expression. And there are so many different ways that you can use art to strengthen your knowledge of the work that you're doing in the classroom.
And I think in the long-term aspect, it helps to go back to executive functioning. Yeah. It also helps in finding creative ways to find solutions to different problems. So as an adult, I think this is very important, and it's also, valuable in the workplace, valuable in life, etc., etc. Last thing I want to discuss is your role as an administrator. I think there's a lot of misconception around simple things like class size, for example. Class size is a big thing because everybody wants, all the parents are like, we need a small class size so the teacher can manage them easier. Yeah. Very different Montessori is so different in this respect that I think it's very important that we talk about what is really expected from, a class size and what the ideal class would look like. Yeah.
Well, at my first class size, I had 32 children right out of training. And on paper, I was thinking, oh my goodness,
this is terrible.
This is terrible. This is frightening. But here's the thing. It's not 32 3-year-olds. That would be frightening. It's 32 3, 4, 5, and even 6-year-olds in the classroom. And when you start to sort of sit in that understanding that Montessori works in a mixed age setting. It's, of course, there are classrooms that have to build to that mixed age, breadth. But you have children who are not only you have the 3-year-olds and they're just learning everything, taking everything in. The 4-year-olds they're really the workers. They're the practicing. They're the bees.
Yeah.
And then you have the leaders and the 5-year-olds, and they're reinforcing their knowledge they remember what it was like to be 3 and to not know how to button your coat. And they're the ones there to help. And, and not only is it just the function of buttoning a coat, but it's that sense of community and that of service. Like, I'm helping somebody. Maybe somebody's crying because they can't get the zipper zipped and they're frustrated. And, I know how to help. Can I help you? And so you need those mixed ages, and you need a large class of mixed ages, because the adult in a Montessori classroom is the guide. It's not, which I grew up in a traditional school setting. I was, at a desk looking up to the teacher who, had all of the answers. Which we know is not true,
and also we tell the children that we don't have all the answers. We humanize the teacher or the guide in this respect. We don't have all the answers. We teach them how to, research in a book if there's something that we don't know. And humanizing the teacher, I think, is very important. What Montessori really stands out.
And so you need those large mixed ages, because it's also like a little microcosm. It's supposed to be a mini society. They have to have all of those children. Somebody needs to be bumped into so that they learn, and
not to bump into somebody.
Well, and to practice the grace and courtesy lessons of, I want to get to that globe over there, but you're standing in the way. How do I, do I elbow you to get you out of the way, or do I say, excuse me, And so you have to have that many children in a space optimally to practice, because this is what it is. It's a practicing environment. It's not a perfection environment. It's practice. And so you have to have the large classes for a sense of community. You have to have it for so that they're growing their confidence. And the 3-year-olds, I remember one of my classrooms, there was a 3-year-old who was learning how to do the sewing card. And she needed help threading a needle. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Reverse that. There was a 6-year-old in my classroom who struggled with threading a needle. And there was a 3-year-old who was an expert. I mean, that child could thread a needle, without looking at it almost. And I'll never forget the image of the 6-year-old asking the 3-year-old, can you help me thread my needle, right? And
that's a big thing.
It's huge.
6-year-olds don't ever ask a 3-year-old. They want to help the 3-year-old. It's a big thing. That tells you a lot about the dynamic.
Yeah. And so there are just so many opportunities. And most of us are, if we don't go to a Montessori school, we're in a classroom with children the same ages. And that's not life. We work in environments. Not everyone is born in, 1982 that you work with.
1997.
Yeah, well,
Amen.
1976 for me. So,
Exactly.
But, it's a real life experience. And what are we doing in Montessori? We are helping our children to be able to face the world in real life situations, practically, obviously mathematically, but socially and emotionally. There's just,
The one thing that we have overemphasized is that we prepare the children for life. We don't prepare them for first grade. I think even in our training, they are always overemphasizing this, that it's really not about getting them ready for first grade.
Yeah.
They're going to learn the things. It's really just about having them find that inner peace. And this is the bulk of what we do, and how we achieve that is done through the materials, through their classroom, and through grace and courtesy and so many things. The last thing that I want to talk about is Montessori is new in Kosovo. In terms of doing high-level Montessori education, that's even more rare. So it requires a lot of parent education. There's a lot of things that we see, like you said, there's a lot of marketing around Montessori. All the wooden toys are Montessori, and that couldn't be further from the truth. But what was your experience in terms of educating the parents and telling them to focus on really the important things when they send their kids to a Montessori school.
Yeah, it's a lot, right? You're not only sending your precious baby to this new place, and you have to practice letting go of, just letting them literally go through the door without you. I think a parent partnership is critical in any school setting, and particularly in Montessori, because it can be so different from the way you were raised. And so you're learning a new language of what is observation, or,
or the names of the materials that are very different from the things that we do normally.
Absolutely. But I think, you have to build that parent partnership because you want to provide an environment that is as similar as their classroom environment as possible, because otherwise you're sending your child in, they're coming from one way of life into a classroom that might look different. And so you want to integrate the two. You are not asked to build beautiful Montessori shelves, but it's more about how you approach the level of respect. Are you practicing, giving your child independence? Are you doing everything for them? Or can you start doing one less thing? Are you putting on their shoes when you come into the foyer of the school? Are you giving them the chance to have that little step of independence? And, anytime you allow your child to do something for themselves, there is a light in their eyes, and there is a puffiness of chest, like, oh, I did that. When they zip the first time, inevitably there's going to be this I did it.
Yeah.
And, we have to really celebrate, not praise, and we're not, throwing confetti. We're not throwing confetti because they zipped up their coat, but they're, oh, wow, you did it. You've been working so hard on getting that zip.
Yeah. Always talk about the effort that they put in.
Yeah.
As opposed to the final result. Yeah.
And I think too, it's, the relationship between the school and the parent is critical. I think anytime you can have parent education nights, and which can be hard because everyone's lives are so busy, but if you're making the investment in the school, it's worth the extra investment in having that conversation and saying okay, tell me why this is happening, and, and being open to it, right? I mean, if you've chosen Montessori, you already see the potential in your child, and, what a gift. I always say, it's the gift of Montessori, because,
it's something special.
There's something special. Like I said, the first time I was in a Montessori environment, and I didn't know how to spell Montessori. I didn't know what I was getting into. And it was seeing the children and their capabilities and their confidence and their resilience and all of the things that, made me want to keep learning.
There are so many things we can discuss.
I know. This is what happens.
Yeah, this can go on forever. But I want to thank you that you took the time to come and share your knowledge, your wisdom, your experience with us. It's been invaluable for the school, and I know that all the listeners are going to really enjoy this. Thank you for everything, and thank you for everything you do for the school. And we hope to have you back here again soon.
I'd love that. Thank you.